The first recovery program that I went to was Adult Children of Alcoholics. I had started therapy in my very early 20s after graduating from college, and I was mainly going to therapy to talk about my childhood, and I didn't know how average and normal some of my trauma was, living with a mother with alcoholism. And when I found out that other people had the same experience, it was truly amazing because of the amount of shame that comes from feeling that your family is so different and you're holding that secret and actually a lot of secrets and feeling so much conflicted feelings about what it meant about you, and uh, was it your fault or just so many things. And I remember the first year of Adult Children of Alcoholics um, being just a lot of crying, a lot of tears. And um, so I'm thinking about when that would have been. So I graduated 1987. So it was probably 1990, give or take. And um, then I went to Al Anon. Never really honestly liked Al Anon as much. And But I met someone who introduced me to Codependence Anonymous, and that program changed my life. It At the time, after I graduated, I started working first as a Montessori preschool teacher's aide, but then my really long-term job between undergrad and graduate school was working at a bookstore that happened to carry a lot of recovery books. And so this was the heyday of when um, people's awareness was exploding. And Codependence Anonymous happened to really embrace Pia Melody's book, Facing Codependence. Most people will be more familiar with Melody Beattie's Codependent No More. That The difference between those two books, at least what has stayed with me, is Codependent No More um, contained many people's stories and vignettes that would help with identification um, with what codependency felt like. And Pia Melody's book, Facing Codependence, is really more left brain analytical, creating a theory that codependency comes from childhood abuse and neglect, and that neglect piece was really important for me because uh, technically my mother did not, um, she was not physically abusive. And so, at least for a long time, I felt that she was not abusive. She was more neglectful. Um, Now, in retrospect, I would say there was mental and covert sexual abuse, which I may explain in a few minutes. But so the friend, though, that introduced me to Codependence Anonymous also introduced me to Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous because Pia Melody also wrote a second book called Facing Love Addiction. And codependency and love addiction often go together, which, to make a definition simple, I would say love addiction is when, um, in Facing Codependence, Pia Melody talks about how we learn to esteem ourselves if our parents first esteem us. And so we can internalize the behavior of esteeming ourselves. That it's not just something we um, we have like a bucket full of small amount of self-esteem. It's not a noun. It's a verb that we can learn to esteem ourselves, meaning to set boundaries and respect ourselves and interact with people who respect us as well, or teach people how to treat us through setting boundaries and so forth. But love addiction is when you're unable to esteem yourself from within, and so romantic relationships or sometimes other um, sources or forms of relationships um, give the job to someone outside of you to esteem you. And then if there's a breakup, that abandonment is that much harder, partly because of an anxious attachment style, but that wasn't what I was thinking about at that time. That wasn't the lens, but that if you lose the person who is the source of your esteem, then you have to experience the terrible low self-esteem that you can't fix yourself. Anyway, um, and then I have also been in my life in various food programs, and I don't remember the exact chronology, but at some point I realized I was addicted to sugar, and that was how I dealt with my mother's alcoholism from as young as age 5. I would steal money from her purse to buy candy, or honestly, she would give me candy. Um, I don't remember this directly, but I feel like candy was, along with the television, kind of a babysitter. But also, my grandmother, I believe, had food addiction, and we moved to live in the city where my grandparents were when I was 9, and my grandma would show love through food and particularly sugar. Um, we would either eat stuff she made. She made cobbler from the Marionberry, you know, bushes in her yard and so forth. But she also had type 2 diabetes and diverticulitis and would still abuse sugar and sometimes go to the hospital because of the diverticulitis. So, um, in when I realized I was addicted to sugar and went to Overeaters Anonymous, that was my first abstinence, is to just stop eating sugar. And in my life, I've had a number of years of not eating sugar, and then alternating years where I did. Um, and then I actually had more success in Compulsive Eaters Anonymous, which has a prescribed food plan, and you um, commit your food that you're going to eat to your sponsor daily. And I, in my life, I've gained and lost 75-pound range, top to top. Actually, no, it's more because um, I would say my lowest weight is 145 and my top weight is 250. Currently, I'm about 230. So, what I was saying in my story is that I had a lot of success in recovery, and then more recently have not been involved since the pandemic, or maybe even a little before that. But that may be a story for another video. Um, my husband and I met, and we were both in AA, and they success in our relationship included also beginning to do Recovering Couples Anonymous, and we ran a meeting for a while. And we still use some of the concepts from there. He continues to be involved in 12-step regularly, and I intermittently go, but as a mental health provider, I just want to also talk about there's a program called Dual Diagnosis Anonymous, which for a while at a previous job I ran that type of meeting because it's one of the only 12-step programs that is often like collaborating with a mental health um, uh, agency or treatment center. So it's a really great program that was started in Oregon. There are a couple of other um, mental health related 12-step programs, and I will link to a short that I made specifically about that and another video that I made about the relationship based 12-step programs, which I've mentioned, um, Adult Children of Alcoholics, Al Anon, Codependence Anonymous, and so forth. So um, that's my story. All right. Or some of it. Thanks.